We live? We are live. Hello, awesome humans. Welcome to Awesome Human Hour. Welcome to your Wednesday. So grateful you are here for our special edition Awesome Human Hour today because a lot of things are making it special. One, if you've been coming a lot, you know this is not my normal background. I'm coming to you from the sunny city of Miami, where my husband, who is on work Zooms over there. So we're competing with who is louder. We each think the other person is louder. We came here for the weekend and stayed to work from Miami for a couple of days. So I'm sending you all kinds of sunshine. I am in love. If you know me, I love warmth and sun. It's also a special edition Awesome Human Hour because we are going to do half an hour today because, as Debbie shared in the email, I am taping a segment for the Kelly Clarkson show right after. Any Kelly Clarkson fans in the house? It's such a huge moment for me. I have been her fan for years and it's going to be amazing. I get to be on her show. We're going to talk about my book, which, do you like my background? I've set up like this whole thing. I'm ready for the show. So there's the book, but it's going to be so great. Apparently Kelly calls everyone awesome humans. Can you guys believe it? Like, she calls her family, her staff, awesome humans. So of course, the Awesome Human Project. That is why our show today is only half an hour, because at 12:30 Eastern, I have to get on the call with the producers and then we'll be taping the segment. It will be live. It'll air on June 2nd. Don't worry, we'll remind you all so you don't have to remember. And our topic today is definitely not a topic we can address in half an hour, but I want to get us started. The topic today is how to uncover your calling. And I'm gonna give you some new ways to think about it. And I'm gonna tell you why I chose to talk about that today. So that's our plan. I love seeing Kelly Love in chat. Yeah, I'm really excited. It's my husband, my daughter, and I have been singing like Kelly Clarkson songs in the car for like years. I don't know. I just think she's also this kind, warm, awesome human. So that's amazing. Like, it was meant to be. And she's really excited about the segment. And I talked with her producers yesterday, and she's really like resonating with all the things that I talk about. So it was meant to be. It's awesome. Before we dive in, let's begin the way we always do, the way we always begin Awesome Human Hour Live. So take a moment and finish this sentence. Today, I'm an awesome human because. And if you're feeling up for it, please put your response in chat. Today, I'm an awesome human because. And we do this every week to pause the inner critic, to pause the inner doubter, to pause the constant like, I am not how it should be, and to practice embracing our inner awesome human, to practice recognizing our goodness, our humanity, our uniqueness. And if I can get you guys to do this once a week on the show, that's awesome. But as I always say, I would love for you to do this practice daily. Greet yourself this way in the morning. End your day this way. Have this as a conversation with your kids, your colleagues, your partner. When we embrace the good in ourselves, it makes it easier for us to see the good in each other. And don't you think the world needs that? I do. So I love seeing your responses in chat. And I hope that if you are here live with us, you open up your chat because you will be inspired and encouraged by what others are sharing. I usually read them. I'm not going to read them today because I want to cover a lot in like 20 minutes. But it's amazing to take a moment every day and embrace the good in yourself. Believe me, your brain wants to overfocus on all the negative. So we have to practice recognizing the positive in ourselves. Super quick announcements, then quick hi to Debbie, and then we'll cover a huge topic in 20 minutes. No, my purpose today is to give you just some initial ways to think about uncovering your calling. So a couple quick announcements. One is, if you get my weekly Happier email, and you should, it's good. But I announced yesterday the first ever release of Awesome Human art products. I've been working on this for a while. It brings me huge joy, but I created some really beautiful journals and canvas prints and trays and coasters with my art and sayings on them. They are awesome and bold and fueling. And yes, you all, the Awesome Human hoodie is also there. Yeah, Debbie will put a link in chat that you can all go to my art store. These are incredibly high quality products. These are not kind of like, cheaply made journals or whatever. I would never create that for you. They're pieces of art, each of these. So check them out. I'll be sending more emails about them, but I want to help you embrace your awesome human by adding something to your physical environment that reminds you to do it. So it's really exciting. And yes, the hoodie is there. The hoodie is there. You asked for it, the hoodie is there. And the other quick announcement is that I mentioned last week on May 16th, we will be kicking off a 5-week emotional fitness challenge. It is totally free to join. And I will lead you on a 5-week journey. We'll be using the book, the Awesome Human Project book, of course, the 5-week challenge in there, but I will be taking you through the challenge. So there'll be a weekly video with me. We'll do some live calls. There'll be weekly kind of encouraging emails, some special stuff. So start to think about, do you want to join? Do you want to bring some friends or colleagues to do it with you? We'll be obviously sending a big announcement about it next week, but excited to do it. It's a great way to, if you haven't kind of gotten into the book yet, it's a great way to dive in. It's a great way to make a commitment to yourself. It's a great way to make your emotional fitness a priority and actually stick to practicing. So that's really fun. And we'll be kicking it off. We'll be announcing it. You can join starting next week. So please make sure you subscribe to my weekly Happier email. And then it starts on May 16th. Okay. Those are my super quick announcements. I'm like looking at the time. I have so many things to say about uncovering your calling. So I'm looking at Debbie. Debbie, if you worked out your headphones, please hop in and say a super quick hi, and then we'll talk about uncovering our calling and what that means.
Hi, everyone. Hi, I'm here in Connecticut doing a little house sitting, and I'm so excited to be with all of you today and for all of you to be with Nataly, because this afternoon we get to all send her good fuel for her Kelly Clarkson segment. And there's so much that's from everyone in our community that's a part of the Awesome Human Project. So you are all part of what's happening today with Nataly's segment. And I just want us to all send her the best energy. I want to welcome any newcomers that are here. And of course, everyone will get the recording and links tomorrow to what Nataly shares with us today, so that you can rewatch, watch, and even share with others. And I want to give you a heads up for next week. We're going to have a special day and time and guest. Next week, the Awesome Human Hour live show is going to be on Thursday, the 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, I'm going to send you a reminder on Monday, but I wanted to give you the heads up. And Nataly's guest is going to be Randy Zuckerberg, and she's going to be talking, they're going to be talking about NFTs and talking about what they are. You'll learn more about Nataly's NFT collection, but it's certainly going to be, it's a conversation that we've been talking about for a while, wanting to share with you guys more about what NFTs are. So that's next week. And with that, Nataly, back to you. And I'm so excited to hear what you're going to talk about now and for the rest of the day.
Thank you, Debbie. And thank you, everyone. I was just glancing at chat quickly, which obviously I can't read the whole chat. You guys share a lot. I love reading your awesome human affirmations and all the love for Kelly. And I love that some of you already got your my art canvases that you already ordered. I love knowing that. Thank you, Elaine, for sharing. That is quick shipping. I've partnered with, it's an amazing company. It's a family-run company. It's called Contrado. They're actually based in the UK, but they have factories in many places. I'm actually going to have the founders on Awesome Human Hour soon. It's an incredible couple. Everything they make is handmade. They check everything themselves. I got to know their team. So I love to know how fast they ship things, Elaine. I love that you love the canvas. Awesome. All right, let's talk about how to uncover your calling. So the first thing that I want to say, and I always show you, here are my notes. I prepare you guys. What do you think? So the first thing I want to say is why did I want to talk about that? Especially like we have a short show today. It's something I've been thinking about a lot for myself. And what I share with you guys is kind of what I'm experiencing. That's my lens. But also I asked a question on Instagram. And if we're not yet connected on Instagram, please connect with me on Instagram. It's Nataly Kogan. It's easy. Hold on, I just want to make sure that the mics are all working. Yeah, we should be. Okay, so weird. Okay, let's try without them. I don't know why. It's weird. I asked on Instagram why. I asked the question. I asked two questions. I said, do you believe you have a calling in life? And then what is it? And I was really surprised because more than 50% of people said they don't feel they have a calling. And that surprised me. And I said, okay, hold on, we got to talk about this. So that was the reason. So I want you to I'm actually curious. Can you put in chat? Do you feel you have a calling in life? Just say yes or no. You can share what it is. There's no judgment. I'd like to know. There's no judgment. So obviously I cannot give you the answers to how uncover your calling in the next 18 minutes. But I want to give you some places to get started, and then we'll continue. I'm going to do a whole episode on this. We'll continue to talk about this. So the first thing I want to share with you is, what is a calling? I think for most of my life, I thought of a calling as something like really grand, like a calling to be a writer, or a calling to, be a great doctor who discovers a cure for cancer. Like, I thought of it in these great terms, and it kind of was very elusive. I didn't have a calling. It was similar, like people would say, what's your passion? And I said, I have no idea. It was always very intimidating. And I've shifted how I think about it. And I want to share, there is a book, it's called The Soul's Code. And there's a link, Debbie will put a link in chat. It's called The Soul's Code. And it's a book that has really helped me organize my kind of inner thoughts around this. And in this book, the author talks about, and he is the originator. I don't know if you've ever heard of Acorn Theory. So if you have, this is the book that kind of brought it to life. And the Acorn Theory, it's something I've been hearing about it for a really long time. Finally read the book. The Acorn Theory says that we are all here on purpose. That, you know how there's this debate, is it nature, is it nurture? Are we the way we are because our parents parented us a certain way, or is it genetics? And the Acorn Theory says that, yes, nature has impact. Yes, nurture has impact, but really we each have an acorn within us, a soul, and you can use whatever word is comfortable for you. I use the word soul, but that we all have a purpose. We are here on purpose. And the Acorn Theory says that our path in life is like an acorn to become an oak tree, right? The purpose of the acorn is to do what? To become an oak tree. And I just find, when I originally encountered the Acorn Theory and this book and others that I've read, it really resonated with me. This idea that we all have this little acorn in us, and the purpose is to grow into an oak tree, and for us to figure out what that is. My daughter, Mia, her bat mitzvah was in Israel 4 years ago when she turned 13. And I wrote a toast that I gave to her. And what I said to her, actually wrote this note for myself to remember. I said, your job in life is to figure out what is your acorn? What is your gift? What is your unique contribution? And then to work your butt off to figure out how to bring it out into the world. It is not going to be easy. It is not, a calling isn't something that bursts out of you, for some people it does, right? Obviously Mozart's calling is to be a musician, a composer, right? He was composing it too. Obviously Picasso's calling is to be a great artist. So sometimes it bursts out, but for most of us not. And so I wanted to say this to you, the same thing that I said to my daughter, that I believe so strongly that we're all here on purpose, that there's an acorn in every single one of us. And our job, our entire, this whole gig of living is about figuring out what that is and then doing the work. And it is work. We have to overcome inner resistance. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. We have to actually do the work to help our acorn grow into an oak tree. So I want to give you some ways to start thinking about, because I saw there was a mix of responses. Some people feel they have a calling, some people feel they don't, some people are unsure. All of that is fine. So I want to give you some questions, some ways to start thinking about what it might be, or if you feel like you have one, to kind of maybe even get clear about it. And these are questions that I have used. These are questions that have really helped me. And so everything I'm sharing is part of my own experience. So here are some questions to consider in terms of uncovering your calling. And the uncovering the calling, like there was a reason I'm saying uncover it. It's not discover it. Your calling is within you. You are here for that reason. Every single one of us has a unique something to contribute. And so it's about uncovering it. It's underneath what you think you should be doing, what the world tells you should be doing, what maybe your parents told you should be doing. It's underneath all that. It's there. So it's about uncovering it versus going out and it's waiting for you somewhere to discover it. So here are some questions that I find really helpful, that if you don't feel like you have your calling yet, to help you uncover it. Think of yourself like an archaeologist and you're digging for that acorn, like you want to go in and find your acorn. So here are some questions. When do I feel most alive? Like what are you doing when you feel most alive? What feels almost easy to me? But I don't mean easy like, washing dishes is easy, right? I mean an activity that you are doing that feels, it might involve work, but it doesn't feel like there's resistance or friction, right? That's another one, another question. Another question that that really helps me is just to ask, like, what lights me up inside? Like, what do I do? And it just gives me like that inner light, or it feels like I have so much energy to keep doing it. Another question to ask is, what is something that I do that gives me this sense, and this is not a logical question, but that gives me this feeling of I am contributing something that is meaningful to me. And that can be like both an intellectual answer, but also more of a feeling answer. Here's one more question, and this is actually one of my favorites, and I'm going to pause on this a little bit. If I ask people I love, family members, friends, colleagues, if I ask people I love, how would they say I contribute uniquely to their lives? I want you to actually pause and think about that. That to me, my gift of my work is I work with so many different kinds of people, and I have had many, many conversations over the years with people who say, I'm not sure what my calling is. I'm not sure what my sense of purpose is. And I've given them this question because often other people in our lives can sense or know our calling way before we do. And I'm going to give you two personal examples for me. So you all know that a huge part of my work is public speaking. And it's something that I love. It is something that lights me up inside. It is something that I feel is my unique contribution to the world. It is something that I work so hard. One day I'll do a talk about an Awesome Human Hour about speaking and what it involves and how to work on a talk. I do so much work, but it doesn't feel hard. It feels like I have endless energy to do it. So public speaking is one of the things, and not just public speaking, I would say, but teaching people through the lens of my own experience, like sharing myself with people that way. I believe it's part of my calling. And to do that in order to help people, struggle less and transcend struggle. But I'm 46 years old, and I've only recently really come into my own to say, yeah, that is a part of my calling. But you know what? My dad, when I was in my early 20s, and I think maybe even younger, I remember my dad, and I was doing something totally different. I was a consultant at McKinsey. I was completely like different field. And I remember my dad, and he would say to me often, and he would say, I don't know what this is called. He didn't even have the name for it, but he would say, I feel like you need to be like, I don't know. He would say correspondent on TV. Like that wasn't the word, but he was like, somehow you need to get in front of people and share. And you see, like he didn't even know the words, but because people who love us, they see ourselves sometimes before we see ourselves. And he had that hunch. Do you think I listened to him? No, I did not, because that wasn't what I felt I should be doing. And it was a path that was so foreign and weird to me. What do you mean? Like, I don't know. I was a consultant. I was an entrepreneur that I didn't even pause to think about it. So I'm giving you one example. I'm going to give you one more that has to do with my art, but asking yourself this question, like, if you feel really stuck, like you're not quite sure what your calling is, it is so helpful to get out of your own mindset and enter the mindsets of people who love you and ask, if I ask people who love me, what would they say? How would they say I uniquely contribute to their lives or the world? And you know what? Go ask them. Go ask them. This is my challenge to you. If you feel stuck, if you're unsure what your calling is, go have that conversation. Have it with your partner, with your kids, with your close friends, with your close colleagues. Actually say to them, and I've given this as a homework with some of the leaders I've worked with who said they're not sure what their calling is. Go talk to them and say, listen, I am working on, I'm not quite sure what my sense of purpose is. I'm stuck. And I'd love to for you to tell me, how do you feel I uniquely contribute to your life? Or what do you feel is my unique contribution to the world? It will be such an enlightening conversation. And again, because people who love us, and it's obviously got to be someone who loves you, it's got to be someone who you trust, but it's so often it's easier for those people to take off the different shields and the masks that we wear. The mask of, this is what I should be doing, this is my role, this is blah, 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 this is what my parents wanted me to do, and to really see the truth in ourselves. So go have that conversation. And I realize it's vulnerable and I realize it's not easy, but you know what? It's worth it, because figuring out your acorn so it can grow into this beautiful oak tree, it's worth it. And it is work. We have to take off all these layers. So go have that conversation. I want to give you another example in my life. So my husband, Avi, and my friend Sharon, for a really long time already, have referred to me as an artist. Up until 5 years ago, I didn't even touch a paintbrush. Now, I've always loved art. I've always wanted to paint. I'm really creative, and I've dabbled, like when I lived in Japan, but art was never something I allowed myself to do. Even when I did it, I would always be like, oh yeah, it's, art over here on the side. Like it's like a hobby over there. But I'm not an artist. But my friend Sharon, who loves me very much, and Avi, who loves me very much, they would always say to me, no, you're an artist. And they would always bring that up. And I rejected it. I didn't want to hear it. But they saw it, right? And so I'm sharing this with you because, this week I think I shared with you a couple of weeks ago. It's part of why I'm creating an NFT collection and sharing. That's why I created my canvases and journals for you with my art. I made a commitment to myself to give more of my time and my work time to sharing my art. But I'm sharing the story with you because I didn't feel that being an artist was my calling until recently, but other people who loved me did. So I encourage you to go have that conversation with people who love you if you're really stuck. Now, the thing, and I've already alluded to, we often have a lot of resistance to accepting our calling. I think accepting our calling is part of our hero's journey, right? If you're familiar with Joseph Campbell's work, another huge influence in my life, and he's the mythologist and anthropologist and author and philosopher who kind of brought the hero's journey into our modern times. There's usually resistance for most of us mortals. So not Picassos, not Mozarts, but for most of us mortals, there's resistance to accepting our calling. And resistance is there because of a lot of things. I want to just acknowledge it. Resistance because it's uncertain, right? If there's a path that we always thought we should follow, right? For whatever reason, our family, what society tells us, whatever, we all have these stories of what we should do in our lives. And if our calling is outside of that, it's really scary and it's really uncertain. And I want to tell you, like, it is very scary for me to accept that part of my calling in my life is to create art and share it with people. It's really scary because what if my art is no good? What if I can't make a living with it? What if people don't care, right? It's so scary. Also, how do I connect it to, like, we have all a lot of resistance. And I share this because I want you to recognize that doesn't mean that's not your calling. That just means you have to do work and you have to step into your courage to find ways to follow it, right? And the other thing I want to just say about resistance that we feel is, I think it's really important to not judge ourselves for it. You are not weak. You are not committed if you have a sense of a calling, but you haven't yet figured out how to follow it in your life. You're human. And it's challenging to take off all those layers and to find the courage to take the steps to actually, once you've figured out what it is, to actually nourish your acorn so it can grow into an oak tree. But I want to tell you, I really do believe it is why you are here. It is the entire, it's the entire, I've been saying, it's like the entire gig of life is to figure out what your acorn is, and then to do the work, the inner work of working through the resistance, of working through the layers, of editing stories that hold you back, and then to do the work to bring it out. It's like, again, I sent an email yesterday, and here, I shared, okay, I created these journals and canvas prints, but that's been years in the making. First of all, it was months in the making of just to create the layouts and the art and all that stuff, but it's been years in the making because the first step was to actually find the courage to say, hi, I'm Nataly and I'm an artist. And here is my art. And you may not like it, and people may not enjoy my work, and you may buy it or might not buy it, but I am an artist. And the other thing I just want to say about callings is I think that if we get quiet enough, and by that I mean we go within ourselves deep enough, it's almost sometimes easier to understand, to know when we're not following our calling. And that's also a good place to start. I use this analogy a couple of times in my talks. I said that for most of my life, I feel like I was trying to make my acorn become a tomato, right? Like I worked really hard to, build companies, and I worked in consulting and finance, and I did a pretty good job. It never felt mine. It never felt like, if I actually asked myself, which I never did, because I just didn't have this awareness. So I just didn't. But if I had asked myself, like, does this feel true to me? The answer would be no. And if I look back, there was a lot of resistance, not just internally, but things were hard, because it's hard to make an acorn into a tomato. It is not possible to make an acorn into a tomato. And I was trying to make my acorn into a tomato. And it was hard, and there was a lot of resistance externally. But the beautiful thing is, again, I use the word easy with a lot of caveats, but once I discovered or uncovered and accepted, like, my calling to teach people through the lens of my own experience, both on public speaking and other ways, but to teach people how to transcend struggle and suffering. Once I accepted my calling of being an artist and sharing art that brings people joy, all these things started to happen to help me do it. And I don't know what, it doesn't matter where you are on the metaphysical scale, right? I spent most of my life as a very loud atheist before I had my breakdown and kind of had what I call a spiritual awakening. I'm still not religious, but I am very spiritual. So it doesn't matter where you are in the metaphysical. You can believe whatever it is matters. But when we align with what our purpose internally is, all these people and all these things start to happen to help us do it, because our acorn growing into an oak tree doesn't just benefit us, it benefits everyone around us. So again, I just want to remind you of the questions that I shared, and I love all the comments in chat. And obviously we need a much longer session on this. I said this at the beginning, we are going to do a whole session because I want to take you through some of these questions, but I just felt really, I don't know, I felt really called after I posed that question on Instagram, and so many people said they don't feel they have a calling. I just felt called to at least do a short episode on this and give you some of those initial seeds, give you some of those initial steps, and then we'll do another session on how to uncover your calling. So I just want to repeat the questions because some of you have asked. To start to ask yourself, what do I do that makes me feel really alive? What do I do that kind of lights me up inside? What do I do that feels almost effortless or easy? Doesn't mean I'm not doing work to do it, but it feels like there's no resistance. And finally, if I ask people who love me how I uniquely contribute to their lives or the world, what would they say? And my challenge to you is to go and have that conversation. Go and have that conversation with at least one person who loves you. I think it will be a really big gift that you give not just to yourself, but to that person. I would love, by the way, to hear your thoughts. You can always just send me an email to Nataly@happier.com. I want to know, because it's a big topic that we just try to cover in a short amount of time. I'm definitely going to do another episode on this. This is something that I feel very called to explore this area together with all of you in this community and in my work and talks and workshops. And one thing that I've learned to do is to listen to that inner calling. Like when I feel called to do something, I used to never pay attention because I was so up here, I never listened. And I think a really big piece of uncovering our calling is about learning to quiet this. I'm pointing to my head if you're listening to this, and to learn to ask those inner awareness questions and to listen. Thank you, everyone. I hope this was useful and fueling and inspiring, and I hope it launches you on this really meaningful inner exploration to uncover your acorn, because you have one, so it can grow into a beautiful oak tree, because we all need your oak tree. We need your oak tree. You're here on purpose to grow from that acorn into an oak tree. Thank you. I am so excited to go record my segment with Kelly Clarkson. And here are the producers. Perfect timing, you guys. Have an awesome rest of your day. I'll see you soon.